Smart strategy, real conversations, bigger margins. This is Chasing the Margin podcast.
Welcome back to Chasing the Margin. Today we have Miss Dawn Clarke. Dawn, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, Troy.
So Dawn is somebody that I've met recently, and Dawn is partially the reason that the podcast exists. So we'll jump into that here in a second. But tell us a little bit about you and who you are as a person.
Sure. Yes, my name's Dawn Clarke, and a little bit about me. I'll go back to college. I'm an Aggie and got my MBA at TCU. I am married to Scott Clarke and have 5 adult kiddos, 2 dogs. And I'm an EOS Implementer, which is like a business coach, and then live in the Grapevine, Colleyville area part of the year, in the mountains of Colorado the other part.
Yeah. I want to hear more about the Colorado stuff because I love that area of the country. So, but you said you're an Aggie.
Yes.
So how do you feel about the football stuff this year so far?
How fun. It is, yes. It's so fun. It's always fun to watch your teams when they're winning, but have always been an Aggie fan.
Yeah, I saw an Instagram post the other day that was like, this is the first time that 3 Texas teams have been ranked at a certain position for a very long time because the Aggies are doing good. The Longhorns, I think, are doing decent now, even though they've had a up and down season. And then there was one other Texas team that was doing pretty good. So
yeah, Tech's doing pretty well
this
year
too.
Yeah.
It was Tech. It was those 3 people are doing. I think they might be top 10, but anyway, it's not a sports podcast; it's a business podcast. So tell us a little bit about what exactly EOS is, and kind of expand on that, because I want the guests to understand what you do specifically.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. And I'd be curious to know your answer to that question as well. So I'm going to come back to you on that.
Okay.
But so what EOS is I work with leadership teams like your leadership team and help get you guys 100% aligned with your vision. Where are you guys going to go 10 years from now, 3 years from now, a quarter from now? And then how are you going to get there? And so doing that, and then after that, really baking in that traction, that accountability, that discipline, which is the part that so many other coaching programs miss, is how do we get that traction, that accountability. And then we have a lot of things that we do over the 2 years that I work with my clients that bakes in team health, which when you love the people that you work with and everybody is focused in on the same thing, it just makes coming to work so much more fun. So I love that I get to do that every work day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, when we first heard about EOS, it was one of our staff members that told us about it, and they actually read the book Traction.
Yeah.
So for anybody listening, Traction kind of talks about what EOS is, and it's a very good example if you're looking for something for your leadership team to change, or maybe a new direction of how you want to run your business. It'd be a great book to pick up and read. But he talked about EOS, and then we scheduled the meeting with you. And, I think I was very skeptical at first because it was like, well, it's just this thing that tells you how to run your business. And like, how does that going to help? Because we know what to do, but it was so much more than that. So, but tell us, I guess, what exactly was your experience when you first met the A Fairchild team? And when our firm engaged you, was that almost a year ago at this point?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so I'm fortunate that I've been doing EOS coaching for a long time, and so I get to pick my teams, which is really nice. And then for teams that it's not a fit, I know all the other implementers in Dallas-Fort Worth, so get to match them. But A Fairchild came in, and I felt like it was just such a match with my core values. So I look for teams who, number one, they care about their people. And you guys clearly care about not only your team members, but also about your clients. And I love that about you. I could tell it from your website. I could, the 2 people that I spoke to at the beginning, I could tell you're just a company that cares. And then the second thing I look for, and this is just me, this isn't all EOS implementers, but I love working with teams that want to go big. right? They want to crush it. They want to build this amazing company that is a lot of the times a blessing to the people who work there and their clients, and they can dream big and go big, and you guys had that. And then the third thing I look for is, are you willing to change to build something better? Are you willing to do things differently and go through maybe a little bit of pain, a little bit of changing some habits, having some tough conversations to build something great? And as I looked at each one of you guys in my session room, I knew that everybody in that room from your team, A Fairchild, had that and wanted to build something great. And so it was just an easy yes. I'd love to work with A Fairchild. I knew that from the first day that I met you.
Well, we love working with you, Dawn. I think that growing up, my dad always told me, you can do anything you want as long as you just set your mind to it. And nobody ever told me otherwise. So I've been with the firm for a long time now, and I've always been the rah, we can go out there and we can get everybody. So it's like you said, we have big goals. I think Annie and I, who's our managing partner, sit next to each other, and she's like, well, we could do this. And I'm like, we could do that, and we could do this. And then she's like, and we could do this. And then we just compound. And then all of a sudden, you've got this momentum with these people that really want to move forward and really want to empower their people, like you said, and create this incredible company that we get to participate in, but it creates so much more for everybody else that's whether an employee or a partner or even a future employee or partner.
I love that. Yeah. We say EOS is for all your team. It's for your team members because there's so much that's baked in there. So for example, Troy, if I'm on your team and your company's running on EOS, which it is, I know that I fit the core values of your company. I know clearly what I'm accountable for. If I report to you, we're in constant communication at least once a quarter on how I'm doing with the things that I'm accountable for. I know just my few measurables that are going to move the needle, and am I hitting those? And then the most important things I can do each quarter to be great for you. And so it just makes it really simple that I know what I would need to do to be able to shine at your company. And so that's why team members love it. It just gives them that clarity of what does it look like to be a winner at a company, and then they can just go out and do it. So, it's for the team. It's for the team members.
Yeah. So I know that before you got into EOS, you had experiences as an entrepreneur before that. So I'd love to hear kind of maybe some of the things that you did prior to EOS, and then kind of the journey getting into EOS, how you heard about it, why you decided to become an implementer in the first place. Take us through that.
Sure, yeah. So like a lot of the teams that I work with, a lot of the visionaries that I work with, I am a lifelong entrepreneur. And so my first business I had when I was 12. It was here in Arlington, Texas, which is where I grew up. And I had 2 bunny rabbits. And that became, I know, you know where the story's going. That became more bunny rabbits. And I lived in a nicer area of town. And I found that if I dressed up my bunny rabbits in my doll clothes and put hats on them, I could sell them. And this was a while back for $20 each. And so,
that was a lot.
That was a lot back then, right? And so I'd sell them to the neighborhood kids for $20 each. And that was my first business. But so anyway, I've always been an entrepreneur. Since then, I've started a franchise company that grew to 54 locations, a packaging company, some brick and mortar stores. But really, when I started running my businesses on EOS, it was about 12 years ago. And I'm in Strategic Coach, my business coach out in Santa Monica, California. I was talking about my companies. There were 3 big ones at the time. And I was just kind of stuck, and I was frustrated and not loving work because I'm a visionary, right? I'm an idea person. I love strategy and ideas and putting the pieces together. But I was spending so much of my time running the company, executing the business. And I really thought, like, okay, my undergrad from A&M is finance. I've got my MBA. I used to be a consultant for a major consulting company. And I've got this background where I'm a business person, right? I should be running the business that I own. And I realized, like, that's not what God put me on this earth to do. That's not my skill set. What is it that I really love to do? And just do that. And that's huge value, right? And then how do I hire everybody else to do things that they're designed to do in their unique ability? And so the book that she recommended to me was Rocket Fuel. It was about the visionary integrator relationship. And I actually read that on the plane ride home and posted an ad the next day asking friends, asking different people for potential integrators. And I found 2 to run my 3 companies. And it really just freed me up to do the work that I was designed to do. Yeah. And then I love it because now I always work with between 17 and 21 teams. I currently have 20. You're one of my teams. And so I get to help these teams figure out, how do you move it, right? A lot of the times my owner, my visionary, is doing work in the business, and that's not their value. That's not what makes them happy. And how do we just move those pieces around so everybody's in their unique ability doing the work they were designed to do? Because that increases productivity, it increases profitability, and then everybody loves their job.
Yeah.
So sorry for that long answer.
No, that's great. I mean, I love to hear the journey and hear all the whys of why people get to where they are, because, everybody's different. And I think that one of the key things, and I'd love to hear you clarify, is like, it's not that you didn't love business, it's that you didn't love being in the business. And everybody is different with that. But a lot of people that we either talk to on the show or that listen to the show, I'm sure that they've had that frustration. And I bet it can be confusing, because I bet they love their business, they love what they do, or like their skill set, but maybe they're getting frustrated with like the day-to-day activity. And it sounds like that's kind of what happened to you to a certain extent.
Sure, yeah, because some people, I know, some people are designed to fly at 30,000 feet, and that's me. I'm great at the big picture ideas, but get me down closer to the actual work, the nitty-gritty, the details, and that becomes exhausting to me. But there's so many people, a lot of the times there are people in my session rooms who are really great at those things. Some people are good at 10,000 feet. They're a lot of the times good managers. Some people are good at 1,000 feet. Maybe they're supervisors. And some people are good at just what you put in front of them, and they're passionate about that. They love to do that. I had a group of surgeons that I worked with once, and one of the surgeons realized, I don't love managing people, and he just cut, right? that was what he loved to do. So Troy, the question really becomes, and I think you've done this exercise with me before, right? What do you love to do that brings in money and value to the company, and it makes you really happy? And we just figure that out for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, we just went through that exercise with you, and it helps so much, because even these people that I've worked with for such a long time, that I've known much longer than you and I have known each other, you basically break it down in 4 quadrants, and it's like, what are you great at? What do you love to do? What's the extremely valuable to the company? And then kind of the bottom quadrant is, what do you not like to do and not very valuable to the company for your time? And I'm watching these people put little sticky notes up to say like what they love to do, what they don't love to do. And I'm like, I didn't realize you did not like to do that, because you always do it and you've never said otherwise. So I just assumed you loved it.
Yeah.
And it's just eye-opening when you sit there with the people that you go day in, day out, and you do those meetings where you take yourself out of the business and you just say, okay, we're going to focus. For EOS, it's that full quarterly day. And you focus all day on the big stuff, and all the little stuff, just today, this doesn't matter. We can get to it tomorrow.
Yeah, that's wonderful about spending those days together, is we have one day together to work on the business instead of working in the business. But back to something that you said, right? That team member that doesn't love doing that thing, there's probably somebody else in your company that does that with probably 2 to 3 times the speed and loves it, right? They're like, oh my gosh, if you could give me this, that it would be in their top quadrant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, I love getting to sit and talk with clients or talk with people. I just find people so interesting. I mean, obviously we're here, but other leaders in my company that I consider just as important as myself, if I said, hey, I need you to do the podcast, they would be like, absolutely not. Like, we're just going to close it all down. We're never going to do that because this would terrify them or it would stress them out or they wouldn't enjoy doing it. But I could sit here all day and just guest after guest, just talk with people, pick their brain, learn about what they like, learn about what football team they like, just because it's so interesting to me and it brings huge value to the firm because I'm a unique accountant that likes to talk to people, I guess.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit, you've used the terms a little bit back and forth and I know them, but not everybody knows them. So you talk about this whole, in EOS, there's a visionary and then there is a implementer and then there's a integrator. What exactly are all of those things within EOS?
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question, Troy. So not every company has a visionary. About 20% of about 15% of my teams don't have a visionary. Usually those are second, third generation companies. But a visionary is just a big idea person. So think about Walt Disney, right? He thought of Disney World. But he actually wasn't successful for a number of years because he was trying to run his company. And so think about visionary as they're your idea people. A lot of the times they have ideas that can multiply the company 10 times. So most of my visionaries, it's not a question of how many ideas they have and how great they are, but it's which ones do we pick, which ones do we say no to, and when do we do them? So we're not doing too much, right? We're doing just the right things. But the integrator then, if the visionary comes up with the idea, the integrator makes it real. They make it happen. They take the visionary's ideas and make them a reality by working with the team, starting with the leadership team and then everybody else. And they work with the team to make the visionary's ideas a reality. They've got this skill set where they love managing people. A lot of the times my visionaries don't love managing people. And they can have these tough conversations. They drive accountability. They're all about measurables. And so if sales is promising something that operations not delivering, that finance can't afford, it's my integrator, right, that has those tough conversations between those three. And they also are the ones that make the P&L a reality. And so usually my finance person, the leadership team comes up with the budget, and then my integrator works with everybody to make it a reality. Mm-hmm. An implementer is what I do. And it's basically just a business coach who uses EOS to help teams scale, to help them a lot of the times get out of the chaos. If they're stuck and they're hitting their ceiling on something, a lot of the times I'll see teams come in and they're just stuck at a certain revenue level, or they've grown a lot and they've outgrown their systems and they just need a whole system. And so that's when an EOS implementer like myself comes in and works with a team to get them all seeing the same vision, right? Baking in that accountability. We have 20 tools that we use that do that. And I just help you guys master the tools for the 20 tools. It takes about 2 years. And then you are running beautifully on EOS and you know everything that I know. So, Troy, you've been asking all the questions. And I normally, in a session room, a full-day session, I normally get to ask all the questions. Right. So this is a little bit different. But let me ask you, what have been the biggest differences that EOS has made for you? You're about a year in, so about halfway. It's a halftime. What are the biggest differences that EOS has made for you and your company?
So I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier with the skepticism. And then going through the initial meeting with you, hearing all of the big ideas and like what EOS is from you, and you're a very energetic person. And even after that meeting, I was like, well, we could do that ourselves. But several of our team members that were in that meeting were like, but we really think we should move forward with EOS. And it came down to, okay, these are the people that I work with every day, that I really value their opinion, that I really respect them as professionals and people. And if they think we should do it, then let's take a chance on it. So that's a long-winded way of the real answer to your question. And I think the real answer is it gave us real structure And one of the best parts, in my opinion, of EOS is, you have the rules that you have on your wall. And one of those rules talks about saying the things that are uncomfortable to say. Yeah. And a lot of times you can be so close to these people that you're partners with or that you're part of leadership in a business with. And it's just hard to look at that person and say something that may be taken the wrong way. But when you're in that room with your implementer and you're sitting there and you're all being vulnerable, and everybody, like you say all the time, is rowing in the same direction, trying to achieve this big goal, it's like, okay, you sit there and breathe, you take a second, you're like, I can say this. It's a hard thing to say, but everybody needs to hear it. And then all the time, to me, almost all the time, it's received differently than you would have expected. Yeah. And it's just because you put yourself within this system that has all this structure that presents the whole operating system in a way that everybody is trying to achieve this bigger goal. And I think because of that, it allows you to achieve much more, much faster than you would on your own.
Love that. Yeah, I can totally see that with you guys. And that is one of the things, right? Before I became an EOS coach, I worked a lot with strategy and with profit. So I love being on Chasing the Margin because I think profit's so important. But that doesn't dive into, right, the team health, having that space to go there and fight for the greater good from somebody. If you see the world differently than somebody else on your team, entering the danger and having the courage to go there and having that safe space to go there, just that team health, right, is huge.
Yeah. Well, we talk about this a lot within EOS, and you've mentioned it a couple of times with like core values and now team health and other things. And a lot of that kind of revolves around the culture of a business. What do you find the culture of a business? Is it important? Is it not important? Do you think, if you were to rank it, is there anything that you would put in front of it or behind it as far as importance of the culture / core values of a business?
Oh, I love that question, Troy. I'm actually speaking on that in front of it with one of my other team members in front of 5,000 roofers.
Oh, that's
it was just going to be
fun
fun next month. But we're actually talking about core values. And so just really quickly, EOS has 6 components of it. They all work together. And so one of them is people. It's core values in the accountability chart. There's 5 other things. You can't build a great company without being great at all 6. You've got to have a great vision, great data, great processes. You were talking about being exceptional at solving issues and then getting things done. But then looking at the people component, core values, is so important because I've worked with, I say over 150 leadership teams. I've now got over 170 that I've worked with. I was looking at this last night for the presentation I'm doing next month. I've never had 2 teams have the same core values.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. And so your core values, we do this exercise, and I did it with you guys, where we find out a company's core values. And Gino Wickman, who wrote the book Traction, talks about core values or something, and he uses the word, which is kind of a gross word, but there's something that you reek of. And it's so true because for this presentation, I was going back and looking, and I graduated an aerospace company, and they were all just really like hard charging, but just like their core values were they're driven, they're gritty, they're results oriented, and they take one for the team. and then there's another company that I have, and they're really high end interior designers. They've 10 times. They're one of the largest design firms in Dallas Fort Worth, and they're about the spirit of living is in the giving, relationships. We put our fingers in the dirt and help each other out. I can't remember what the other couple are, but you look at those 2 teams. I could fit into one, but not the other, right? Mm-hmm. And so if I'm wanting to go to this machinist team and I'm giving and relationship oriented and stuff, I'm not going to fit. And so part of it is, and this is probably a little bit of a too long of an answer, but how do you find those people that fit your company? And so knowing what I know about your company, there's only certain people that are going to fit. They're probably going to love people. They're going to love your clients. They're going to be focused in on excellence. They're going to be results driven. I don't have your core values at the top of my head, but they're going to be that. And if they're not that, they don't fit at A Fairchild. They're just not. They're not a match. They're not going to stay. And so my teams get really great at talking potential candidates out of a job based on the core values. Like, Troy, I think you might be a good fit here, but this is who we are. And if you're not this, it's just not going to work. And that just really increases retention.
Yeah, I think that you talk about this a lot within our conversations with you about how a lot of times hiring and firing, like, it starts with the core values. Because what's going to happen is if you have some of the issues with core values, you're going to have that friction. And then you're going to have an employee that's going to get frustrated, and then their manager or whatever is going to get frustrated with them. And it's just not a good fit. And it's not because that employee's a bad person. It's not because that business is not a great business. It's just like you're saying, it's just not the right fit for everybody.
I love that. Yeah. So if you have somebody that's about customers and customer first, and the team member is not about customers, they can go work for another team that isn't customer first, doesn't matter as much. Right? Yeah.
Do you work with, like, you have core values, obviously, for your businesses. Do you work with a lot of teams that are just like your core values? Do you work with several that are completely different from your core values? How does that work when you're trying to, like, choose which teams to work with?
Yeah, great question. So I don't do a complete match. I do pray that I should always have the teams that I'm supposed to have, and so I put that filter on it. And then also I look for teams that care about people, because I find if I have a team that doesn't care about people, then it's not a good match. And then they just want to go big. They want to 10 times. They want to crush it. They want to build something great, and they're willing to change. So those are just the 3 things I look for. It's not an exact fit with my core values, but I know that's what I need. Otherwise, I'm not their implementer.
Yeah.
And I help them find somebody who is their implementer. And they're not my team, right? Life is too short to not enjoy the work that you do and the people that you spend time with.
I agree. So I'd love to hear, we've talked about EOS, and this definitely plays into EOS because this is what you do for a living now. But whenever you're specifically looking to hire somebody, we'll just talk about the hiring side. Do you go through a process for that? And, obviously the core values come into play, but how does Dawn choose specific people? When do you let other people choose employees for your company? Do you always hire each one of your team members when they come to work for you? Talk to me about that.
Oh, yeah. So it is a very relevant question now. But so we always look at 3 things that I want to share with you if you're thinking about being on my team. So the first one you mentioned is the core values. Second thing is, Troy, you're going to come work for me. What are you accountable for? So in this job, this is going to be what you're accountable for. And is it in your unique ability what you're born to do? Do you want to do these 5 things that you're going to be accountable for? And do you have the skills and experience to do those 5 things? And then the other thing looking at is measurables. And so if I'm going to work for you or you're going to work for me, Troy, this is what I expect from you as a human with the core values. This is what you're accountable for. And these are the numbers after you get trained, after you get going, that I expect you to hit, just because we run based on results. And so that way you fully know what the expectation is. I do find that my visionaries tend to love to hire people. I find that they're not the best people to do the hiring. Usually,
that's interesting.
Yeah, usually they're the best person to come in and sell it. And the reason why is my visionaries are idea people. They're excited about their company. They want to. It's almost like they want to sell the company and be excited about it more than it's because they're flying at 30,000 feet, right? So it's hard for them to get down low and really see below the surface of what might be wrong with this person. They're wanting to see the best about people, and they're wanting to just take it at face value. And so usually my visionaries, the person that can have veto power, but not the person that asks the tough questions and looks below the surface of what's really going on with that person.
I feel like you and I might know somebody that has a lot of these traits that you're explaining that we consider a visionary. And I feel like you've described her if she were just sitting in the room like, yeah, that's her.
Yeah, that's how I was. And I used to love to hire, and I still like to meet people, and I like to mentor when I was involved with my companies. I've since sold my companies. But when I stopped hiring, we found the right person. We went through so many fewer people to get the right person when I wasn't the one hiring. But I always wanted to make sure I felt good about them.
That's really interesting. One thing that I've heard, and I'd love to hear your opinion, because you said something that I have never thought of, and I'd love to hear you comment on this, is I've heard that like Elon, when he started Tesla, he hired like the first 1,000 employees or something like that. I would think that Elon is a visionary. I would think. I mean, I don't know him personally. Maybe he's not. I don't know. But do you think that he truly had that hiring piece, or do you think that maybe he had a say in it, but he had like a integrator type individual that was really the one looking for the right people that were going to fit the seats that he was ultimately looking for?
Yeah. So I'm not sure. I read his book when it first came out. It's been a little while because I think it came out a couple of years ago. But I think Elon is one of those visionaries, which he's not like most of my visionaries, where he flies at most of my visionaries fly at 30,000 feet. Elon flies at 100,000, right? But I also think he has this rare ability to get into the weeds from reading the book, right? And see things at a foot, right? And I think that's just extremely rare.
Okay. Yeah, that's just interesting to hear you comment on that. So,
but out of all the teams that I've worked with, whenever they have a process for hiring and they hire on core values, what the person's accountable for, and measurables, and then they get the right person hiring, the person who does the background checks and who asks the questions in a certain way and really digs below the surface, and then my visionary comes in and does a stamp of approval or a veto, that just works a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably a good process too. So every business has struggles.
Yeah.
And I'm sure even those who are on EOS have struggles too that they have to work through. Have you ever found a moment where you've been working with one of your teams and they've brought up some struggle that they're going through, and maybe EOS did not either have a good answer for how to solve the struggle, or it was just something that maybe was just new that you had not experienced with any of your teams prior going through EOS?
Yeah. So all of my teams have issues. I have 4 forever clients. I call them forever clients because most of my clients graduate in 2 years, but there's 4 that are always changing. They're always multiplying, and I feel like I could work with them forever. And they feel the same way, but that's the exception, not the rule. And what's interesting is the issues that you have when you're at, say, 5 million are different than the issues you have at 50 million, which are I've got some companies that are working on $1 billion in their 10-year picture. And that's different. And so you just your issues keep changing as you keep growing and as you learn, because your company is changing. And EOS works for a number of very large companies. And so the Crocs, the shoe company, runs on EOS. And there's a bunch of really large publicly traded companies that do run on EOS. But really, it's just about your issue. And so your issue is either related to your vision, people, data. Maybe it's an issue related to issues. You're not putting that issue out there on the table. You're sweeping it under the rug. Process or accountability, getting things done. It's just related to one of those 6 things. And if it keeps coming up again and again, it's because you didn't solve the root issue. You just solved a symptom. And so sometimes I'll have that occasionally with my teams. Hopefully they solve the issue because we dig down to the root in our session day together of what the root issue is. But if they solve a symptom and not the root issue, sometimes because they don't want to have that tough conversation that you talked about, then it comes back up again on the issues list. And then a couple quarters later, it comes back up again. And I've had some teams that I'm like, okay, we're on plan G, right? But it's a huge issue, right? It's going to unkink the hose and get all this business flowing and be so huge for the company. And if it takes 5 learnings or failures to get to getting something huge working, that's great. So in answering your question, Troy, we miss it sometimes. And then it's a learning and we try again.
Yeah. I mean, even for us, we've gone through, and to expand on what exactly it is you and I are talking about, for those who don't know, we have a weekly meeting with the leadership team, and 60 of the 90 minutes is spent on solving issues. And issues, everybody, I think, takes it as a negative connotation, but sometimes it's just decisions. It's like these things come up, we need to have a decision, and it needs to take the whole leadership team, not just one person's opinion. So these are what are called issues, to explain it for everybody. But for us, there's sometimes where, we have an issue, we explain it in 30 seconds, and then it's yes, no, and you move on. Yeah. But then there's other ones where you spend majority of that 60 minutes talking about one issue, and then you solve, like you said, a symptom or one piece, and you have to revisit over and over again. And it's, little successes to accomplish this extremely important thing for the company, but sometimes it's just not easy to solve those huge things. So,
yes.
I really like that. So one of the things that's also listed on your LinkedIn that I would love to hear how it ties into EOS is you're a dynamic marriage facilitator.
Yes.
I saw that on there, and I thought I would bring it up because I feel like you just relate with people. That's just who you are as a person, I think. How does that play a role in the business, and what exactly is that?
Yeah, so that's so fun. I do that with my husband, and so we're both licensed marriage facilitators. We do classes at our church, and so we get 12 couples in there together. There's a program called Dynamic Marriage, and really it's like what you were talking about the tough questions with your team, right? Getting comfortable, getting uncomfortable. And so within this 10-week class that we get to be trained to do, having the couples do homework where they're going there asking these questions that normally they don't pull out from underneath the rug or go there on. And then we come to class and ask some questions to bring that out. And they realize from other people in the class that there's other people in the room that have that same issue. And then we learn from each other, and then we'll move on to something else. But it's really about digging beneath the surface, right? To go down to what are those root issues in your marriage. Because I'm a huge, I don't know if you know Tim Keller, I'm a huge Tim Keller fan, but he's a former pastor that passed away a couple of years ago. But he talks about when everything is good in your marriage and in your house, you go out into the world in strength. But when things are a mess inside your own house, like it's just hard to go out and tackle the world of business because you're just leaving your house in a place of weakness. And so I think it is the most foundational relationship we have on earth, outside of the one that we have with God. And when that's strong, everything else works. So I love that I get to be a part of that.
Yeah. Do you find that whenever you just have a weird conversation or a hard conversation with your husband, that it just kind of eggs on at you throughout the day, even if you're with an EOS team, it's just kind of in the back of your head?
Yeah, most definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And my husband and I do run on EOS. And so we have a number of issues that go on the issues list. And some of them we tackle in the week, and some of them we just tackle once a month. But yeah.
Like the two of you run on EOS?
Yeah. We did it when we had kids in the house, but we have a 10-year plan for our family, a 3-year plan. I know this makes me sound very nerdy, but we have a 1-year plan. But Troy, this is really important. I am unfortunately such an achiever and I love business, I love what I do, that if I don't stay focused in with my husband on what's most important for us, 10 years out, 3 years out, 1 year from out, I'll let business just take over because unfortunately, right, I am an achiever. I love work. It's so much fun that I can let that take priority over what's truly most important in my life. So that personal plan that I have with my husband helps put first things first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I very much relate to that. It's I can see this big picture and I can see, that way far out. And it's easy for me to say like, oh, well, I just do that later. I'll just do that later because I could be working towards this big goal. And it's like, well, the later is not really going to come if you lose what this picture of later looks like because you're disregarding it for trying to achieve things.
Right. Yeah.
So
what do you really want to achieve in your life in 10 years and how much of that is really work?
Yeah. I agree. I think that, business partners play a interesting, and we even kind of phrase it like this, is like you have business partners and it's almost like pieces of a marriage. So I just thought it was really interesting that you're a marriage counselor, that you're also a leadership coach, because to me, a lot of the skill set there kind of crosses over into the same things.
Love that. Yeah. Relationships, right?
Yeah. It's all about
Long-term
relationship.
relationships that you've got to go there and work to make them healthy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your life is hard.
Yeah. Do you think this is something I'm curious about, especially with either visionaries or some of the leadership team people? Do you think that some of the challenges with them trying to lead their team members are that they don't focus on the soft skills of leadership and focus on the people? Do you have to remind them that, like, hey, you're working towards this big goal, but sometimes taking somebody to lunch is just as important as taking a huge meeting with a new client?
So that's interesting. I think that's one approach. I think the easier, more natural approach that I'd go with related to EOS and the different assessments out there like Culture Index and Predictive Index is that if you're some people are naturally wired to manage people well and to be those people and take people to lunch, and other people are great at just like they can manage ideas, but they're not as good at people. And sometimes there's some people that can manage 8 people and they're gifted at that. I'm personally good at managing up to 2, maybe 3. That's my limit. And I know that because I'm better at managing ideas than I am a whole bunch of different people. And so in answering your question, I would rather have the right person in that seat than try to get them to be something and work on skills to be something that they're not.
Yeah. And in talking about that, one of the things that you've kind of touched on, and I'd love to hear you explain it, is, well, not touched on here, but I've heard you talk about is the 5-5-5.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear you talk about that because that's one of the tools that we use within the EOS process.
Yes. Thanks, Troy. So there's 20 tools we use in the EOS process. One of the ones that my teams get so much traction from is the 5-5-5. And we talked about this a little bit, but it's just that if I report to you, you're asking me how I'm doing at the core values. I give you feedback on that. Dawn, how are you doing at what you're accountable for? I give you feedback. You give me feedback. If it's I'm not doing a good job at something, right? You give me 3 specific examples of why, and then we just have a coaching for those things. And then am I hitting my numbers? Am I getting my rocks done? But the 5-5-5 just makes my job really easy in terms of, do I fit the core values of the company? How am I doing based on the 5 things I'm accountable for? Am I doing them well or not? Am I hitting my numbers? And am I getting my rocks done? And rocks are just important priorities for the quarter that are usually important but not urgent. And so if I'm doing those 4 things, I'm really awesome, Troy. And if I'm not, it's just not letting me slide quarter to quarter, not being great at those things. You coach me up. I know you're going to look at these things again in another quarter. If I'm a normal employee, if I'm new or I'm a problem employee for you, we're going to look at it every month. And I know you're going to be looking at this. So you're inspecting what you expect. And I can either show you how awesome I am, or I can rise up, or I'll self-select out usually. And that's what happens is my teams, their unemployment claims go way down, because people, when they realize this is the standard and we're going to have this conversation and celebrate how awesome you are every 3 months, or if I know I'm not going to hit the standard, I just leave, and then you can find somebody who does want to hit that standard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the 5-5-5 has those quadrants that you mentioned. When you have new teams come in, I'm sure that they have like pieces of like they've told their employees these are things that they expect. Mm-hmm. Do you find that some of your teams or a lot of your teams maybe come in and they don't have like very clear quadrants and very clear expectations, and EOS helps them define that better?
Yeah, most of my teams have none of this, Troy. They don't have any of the quadrants. And so when most of my teams start, they either don't have core values, or they're not really tangible. It's not something that's really truly the characteristics of who this company is. And they haven't said, hey, this is what you're accountable for. There's just a job description, and then they don't go back to it. And there's no KPIs that are weekly activity-based numbers. And usually there's no rocks. And so all of this is usually brand new. That's why it takes 2 years to get great at EOS.
Yeah. And do you find that employees and employers are happy when those are put into place?
Yeah, because productivity increases, profitability increases. Team members can say, hey, look how awesome I am. I hit all 4 quadrants. And most team members really want to do an amazing job. If you just make it easy for them and show them what that looks like, and they want your time and attention, and they know that they have that every quarter.
Yeah, I think I was having a conversation with one of my team members this week, and we were just kind of having a one-on-one just to catch up, because it's been a while since we had chatted. And that was one thing she was asking me was like, we're about to go into 2026. For us, this is kind of like our time where we're ticking and tying everything at the end of the year, but we're a little slower because tax season is over, at least on the tax side of our business. And that was what she was asking me, is like, I really want to know what my 2026 goals are, so she can start prepping for that and planning for that. Because, you know, if she's flying blind, then she may think I'm doing great, but then I may think we're not even close to where I'm expecting you to be. Yeah. And I think a lot of times people don't understand that the things that are unsaid are really difficult. And that's what's causing a lot of this headache within companies, is because you just have no clear expectations. And that goes back to answering your question earlier still, with all that structure of what EOS is and the things that it puts in place, and those specific quadrants within the 5-5-5, I think just help so much.
So I'll share something else, and I haven't even taught your team this yet. So I'm going to teach you this one first.
I get to be the first one.
Yeah, you're the first one. This is usually a second year skill, because we just keep growing in our mastery in our 2 years together. But let's just say I'm the woman that works for you on your team, and I know I'm accountable for these 5 things. A second year skill is I'm accountable for these 5 things. What if I love to do the second one and it just makes me happy? So I spend 65% of my time here, but you actually want me to be spending my time evenly between the 5, 20% evenly. Or maybe you want me to spend 50% on number 1 and then another 12.5% on these other 4. By having this timing conversation, you're letting me know how my time should be spent between those. And maybe that's something we're not aligned on.
Yeah. So do you think that, and we talk about this a lot too, that not only does it need to be an expectation or what you're looking for in that person, but you need to have very clear, measurable expectations as well?
Yeah.
Is that kind of what it evolves into, is putting some type of measurable in there, and it kind of forces like, this is the only way you could achieve that measurable is by spending these times on those things?
Love it. Yes. So if I'm accountable for these 5 things, what are those weekly activities that are going to show I'm doing a great job in each and every one of those. And sometimes you don't get one for one, but a lot of the times you can. And it makes you managing me so much easier when you have those metrics that you get to see a 13-week trend saying, look at what my team member has done in the last 3 weeks.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
13 weeks. Sorry.
Yeah, 13 weeks. Who inspires you, Dawn, and what inspires you about them?
Oh, interesting question.
I know I threw that one in there from left field.
Yeah. So who inspires me? There's so many people that inspire me, and I want to be so well-rounded in everything, right? Spiritually, physically, at work, in my family relationships. So number one is my faith. That's my biggest inspiration, that when I leave this earth, I want to have served God well and well done, my good and faithful servant. And so that's my biggest inspiration. And then I also my passion is to be changing the lives for everybody that walks into my session room. So you've probably noticed I have books that I love to give away to my team members. I love to give them different gifts. And so I want to be a huge blessing to them by the time that they graduate, that I've been a huge blessing to each and every one of their lives. And I've taken bits and pieces of that from different people. And so I think it's John Ruland is the giftology guy. He passed away somewhat recently, but I love doing fun gifts for my teams, creating this amazing experience in my session room, which I got that from Strategic Coach. And so I feel like I've been so blessed that all of these different people in my life have shown me different ways to be a blessing to the people that I get to serve.
Awesome. Is there anything about EOS that, obviously I don't know everything because we're still on our journey together, that you think is important for people to know about it, that makes a difference in their businesses?
Yeah. So EOS is just really, it's a system, right? So it's just really about structure. And I love what you said in all transparency, like, we can do this. And clearly anybody can read the book and do that, right? So for companies that are probably under 1 or 2 million, you can just go out and get the book traction and just do what's in it. If they're more than that, they may want to consider talking to an EOS implementer. There's over 900 now across the world in all different experience levels, and they can help companies get what they want. But it's really just about, you said it, being aligned on vision first of the leadership team. And if that doesn't happen, nothing else happens, because as goes the leadership team, so goes the rest of the company. So we do that. And then we get you the right accountability chart with the right structure. And your accountability chart is like a bunch of players on a field catching balls, and we know who's going to catch what ball. And we don't have 2 people catching one ball, and we don't have any balls slipping through the cracks. So we get your people right. And then data. We didn't talk about this much, but your team really gets data. I love that about your team, is that you guys love numbers. But we have this great leadership team scorecard that predicts the future. None of my teams have that when they start, and the great departmental scorecard and other measurables that lead up. And then process, right? Process is, none of my teams ever want to talk about process. We build the table of contents together in one of our sessions, and everybody's like, process, like, right? But process is so important, because when you figure out the right and best way to do everything, and then you train on that, the productivity, the profitability, the customer experience is huge, right? And then issues, getting your issues out and talking about them, solving them so they go away forever. And then the last part is traction, right? Picking the most important things. What are you going to say yes to with your 1-year goals and your rocks? More importantly, what are you going to say no to? So you have the time to do those things that you say yes to. Does that fit into your budget? So checking in with that. And then having these great meeting pulses. So I get to see you every quarter, and we have this one day we spend together in a quarterly meeting. You also meet with your leadership team every week in these level 10s. And so it's really like all 6 of those things when they work beautifully, right? You're probably already experiencing it. It makes coming to work so much more fun. It makes the company more fun. It's easy, and it just makes everything work better. Profitability increases, productivity increases. It's happier. Your team members are happier, and so how lucky am I that I get to do that for a living?
Yeah, it's really cool hearing you talk about it, because I'm going back and having nostalgia on all these conversations that we've had over the last year about each one of those pieces that you mentioned, and seeing the results and, being in the day-to-day and living it out. It's very nostalgic to just think about how EOS has changed our firm so much over the last year.
Well, you guys are a joy to work with, and I'm so thankful you're one of my clients. I'm huge fans of the company, and I just know that I have no doubt that you guys are going to achieve everything that you want to achieve.
Yeah, well, we're really excited about the future and continuing along the journey. So let's wrap up with just a few fun questions I always like to ask with my guests.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your family. You talk about your family a lot. Whenever we see you, we always catch up on how things are going. Tell us about your family. What do you like to do with your family? Who are they?
Yeah. My husband is Scott Clarke, and he's my favorite person in the world. We love to go trail running together in Colorado, and we bike and just enjoy being out in nature, out in the mountains in Colorado. We spend a lot of the summer there. I come back for sessions, but I also try to get some of my leadership teams to see me out there. So maybe something you guys want to consider. Yeah. And I love serving at my church, travel. And then we have 5 kiddos, which is a lot of fun. They're all in their 20s, and it's just fun to ask them questions, right? As a business coach, my husband's a financial planner, so we're just basically coaches, and it's fun to be at that stage of life that we just get to be coaches for our kids.
Yeah, that's really cool. So do they know all the EOS stuff and know how it all works? Because like you said, you guys ran on EOS as a household.
Yeah. So they'll say, like, I've got an issue. Yeah.
Do they text it or just call you and say, hey, I've got an issue. We need to work through this. Here's my issue. Here's the solve. Now tell me what to do.
Not always, but they do use the word, I've got an issue, right? It's their deal. And then they'll start throwing out possible solves. And then as parents of 20-year-olds now, I get to ask the question, would you like some other ideas? Right? Like, I don't get to give my advice.
Yeah, that's cool. So what's your favorite thing to do with your family?
Favorite thing to do. So we love to play cards. After we call it when they were younger, we called it forced family fun, because it would be after dinner. They would have to sit down and do a board game or cards or cornhole or something like that. And even still to this day, after dinner, we've got 4 out of 5 coming home for Thanksgiving in about a week, and they will not want to do forced family fun, but they're always glad that they do afterwards.
That's right. What does the future look like for you, Dawn?
Yeah. So I really know that I'm in my forever job. I just love being an EOS implementer. 17 to 21 teams is not. So some implementers have 30, and I never want that because I like to have time to do things like this with my team members in between. And I think I'm just serving God. I'm staying healthy, running and biking, and then I'm being huge love to my teams, helping them build the companies they really want.
That's awesome. And then the last question that we always leave on is, if you were talking to an entrepreneur, whether it's somebody that's just getting into business, somebody that's been in business for a long time, or just somebody looking for advice, what's the best general advice that you could give them?
Just because I've seen it work so much, to run on a system, right? And the best time to start is now, because you've seen the difference, right?
Yeah.
Just running on a system versus just doing work, right? You need a system. Yeah. And so it's a lot easier when you have 40 people versus I've got 2 teams over 800, and that's that's a tough time to get on a system, right? It's easier when you have fewer people. So just as soon as you can, get running on a system.
Awesome. Well, that's great. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been awesome.
All right. Thank you, Troy. Good seeing you.